The Embody is actually the chair I'm sitting in every day. It checks all of the boxes for me in terms of comfort, great seat, great arms, great back, and I love that recline. Easy S tier.
I've always been a big fan of the Embody. I love how the chair moves with you while you're moving, and the recline is just awesome. So this is an S from me as well.
The Embody is definitely my favorite chair from Herman Miller. I just wish that it didn't curl my shoulders over so much, but I do love the flexibility in it because it's a lot like the Steelcase chairs. I'm gonna go A tier, but S tier overall. I really like the headrest on the Secret Lab Titan Evo 2022, but pretty much everything else on the chair is terrible. It's stiff as a board and hard as a rock in the seat. I'm gonna go F tier here.
It kind of goes against everything that I look for in a comfortable chair. It's just super rigid, rock hard, no movement allowed, so F for me.
The back and the seat are just way too firm on this chair. The arms are probably the best part, but going by my standard of my wooden kitchen chair, I still would prefer the Titan. So this makes it a D tier. 2 Fs and a D, it's still going to be an F. Next up is our $150 special Amazon chair, the Ticova. The seat is just too firm for me on this chair, so I'm going to give it a C.
I think the Ticova is surprisingly comfortable for the price point. I know we're not supposed to talk about that, but I think it's really important here. The headrest is pretty good. The seat in the back, same thing. I don't love the arms, but overall, I gotta go C tier.
For me, the Ticova is a great example of just a decently comfortable chair. It's not gonna wow you, but I don't think it has any major problems. Seat, arms, headrest, back, recline, they're all decent. So I'm gonna give this a C tier as well. 3 Cs averages out to a C overall. I think the Gesture is a comfortable chair. I do wish that the seat had a little bit more padding in the tailbone area, and I do wish it didn't slant forward, but I do like the arms, and I think the backrest is nice, so this is going to be a B+ for me.
I'm right there with Ryan. I think the backrest is really comfortable, but the seat is just not quite there for comfort, so it's also a B+ for me.
Like these guys, last year I rated the Gesture a B, but unfortunately the more I sit in this chair, the less I like it. I really think for me the seat is a deal breaker. I don't like the lack of lumbar support either. I'm going C tier here, but overall it's going to score a B. The Hag Sofi is a super interesting chair. Unfortunately, it's just too rigid overall. It reminds me a lot of an Aeron, kind of locks me in place. Just kind of average. I'm going C tier.
For me, this is a pretty average chair as well. I'm not a huge fan of the mesh or the lack of flexibility in the backrest, and the arms are a little bit firm, and I don't love the center tilt recline, so I'm at a C as well.
I feel like my back is just a little bit too wide for the backrest frame, so I can't quite get comfortable in this chair. I do like the arms a lot. I love how you can get them in exactly the position you want, so that brings it up a little bit for me. A C for me, so C's across the board. The Haworth Soji is just an all-around super comfortable chair. It just has no real downsides. There's nothing about the chair that I don't like, so I'm going to give this a B.
I think it's a great chair, but unfortunately the seat can sit a bit firm and it really does need a little bit more lumbar support to get up into the A tier, but overall I'm gonna go B+ here.
Yeah, I think the Soji is a really solid chair overall for comfort. It's got a nice recline. I think the arms could use a little bit more padding. The seat's solid though, and I think the backrest is good, so I'm gonna be at a B tier as well. This will be a B overall. The 8000 chair is a really interesting chair for comfort. It's got an S-tier headrest. I really like the seat, and I think it has S-tier arms, but I don't like that the backrest is concave, and I don't like the recline, so I'm going to put this at a B tier.
When you just sit down in the chair, it has to be S tier. But as soon as I try to move and recline in the chair, I just can't seem to find the right position to stay comfortable in, so I gave it a B.
I think that this chair overall just needs a bit more flexibility. You feel like you're kind of locked into it. Definitely S tier on the headrest. And then the armrest adjustment set that we have, I think is almost as good as Gesture, which is the pinnacle for armrest. I'm going B tier and B tier overall. The Secret Lab Neuechair chair, new chair, we're not really sure exactly how this is pronounced. Google says Neuechair. I really like the aggressive lumbar support and the headrest, but unfortunately the seat pan is an absolute killer. It's got the foam pad around the frame that just digs into your legs. This is a chair that I absolutely cannot sit in. F tier.
The Neuechair basically just does everything that I dislike in a chair when it comes to comfort. Rigid, hard frame. The mesh isn't super comfortable. The arm pads are okay, but they're set up in a really weird spot and don't fit me. So this is F tier all day.
My problem with this chair is I just sink through the mesh and I feel the hard frame. Super uncomfortable. I also think the lumbar is just too firm and I can't get it in the right position. This is a low D for me, but with 2 Fs and a D, this is an F tier chair.
What if it's the Neuechair?
I don't know.
Oh,
That's what I'm calling it. Because no way, Jose, should you buy this thing.
The Herman Miller Cosm is what we call the hammock chair. It just gives you that great floating feeling. I just love this. The problem is it's just a little small on the seat depth. They made this in like a size C, like they do the Aerons. This would be an A, but because of the sizing, I give it a B.
The Cosm is my all-time favorite mesh chair, which unfortunately isn't really saying a lot, but I definitely would highly recommend going with task arms, which is how I rate this one. I wish it had a little bit more lumbar support for me, but I'm going to go with B tier.
Depending on the arm package that you get is really going to dictate how comfortable the chair is. I think the backrest is comfortable, the recline's great. I even think the seat is pretty good for a mesh chair, but the arms, like the ones we have, are terrible. And so for me, it would be a C tier. But if you got the adjustable arms, I have seen those are good. It'd probably be a B or an A tier chair. So overall, this ends up being B tier. The Eurotech Vera is a chair that we recommend all the time, and it's basically purely because it's so comfortable. Great backrest, even though it doesn't have lumbar addition. If the armrests were a little bit more adjustable, I'd put this in A tier, but I've got it at a B+.
So I love the built-in lumbar curve in the Vera's backrest. It just, my back pushes in it just the right amount and it feels great. I just wish the arms had a little more adjustment. I wish they went a little lower. So I'm going to give it a B.
The Vera is one of those chairs that I have no issues sitting in every single day for an extended period of time. I really like the backrest and the seat on it. I'm going to go A tier here, but with everybody else included, it's a B. The Serta chair is one of those chairs that I could potentially work in, so I can't go maybe as low as an F tier on this one, but it's terrible. Just nothing about this really fits me. I'm going D tier.
So the Serta chair is just a definition of a purely cush, soft, pillowy chair, which can be nice just for pure comfort, but from personal experience, that will destroy your back over the long haul, and I don't love the recline on this chair and the lack of adjustments, so I'm at a D tier.
So the initial sit test, the Serta might feel kind of nice, but pretty soon you'll feel all the problems it has. It has this headrest, backrest, I don't really know what it is, that just pushes my back forward, so I just can't sit in this chair. It's going to be a D for me. That's a D tier chair. I love the Steelcase Leap. Tons of movement throughout the chair, both in the backrest and the seat. I feel like I can easily sit in this chair for a long day of working, so this is an A tier chair.
I still sit in the Leap every day, including 3 hours this morning at home. The only miss for me is the contour in the seat. Makes it a little bit uncomfortable for longer periods of sitting. If that was better, I'd go S tier, but I'm going to have to go A.
The Leap is one of my top 3 comfortable chairs of all time. I think the seat is amazing. I love the backrest and the flexibility in the chair. The armrests are also super comfortable. I just wish that it had a little bit more of a rocking motion for the recline. I've got it at an A+ and an A overall. Only fitting that we go from the real thing to the knockoff here looking at the Mellet. It definitely doesn't stack up to the Leap in terms of comfort, in my opinion. It's decent overall, but you need to use it without the lumbar in there. So I'm bringing this down to a C.
The problem with the Mellet is it's just too small of a chair for me, so I can't quite stay comfortable in it for long. I really love the headrest, so I'm actually going to leave this at a C.
I think that the short T-Rex arms are awful when you're reclining. It doesn't really have any lumbar support, and then there's an additional problem when reclining with this huge gap between the seat and the backrest. I'm going to go high D tier, overall C. The Humanscale Freedom is a chair that I've used quite extensively. I really do enjoy the lumbar support as it's quite pronounced. I don't love the T-Rex arms that move in unison, and I also don't like to be fully reclined in this chair with that headrest because it puts you in sort of a crinked position. The chair overall is just sort of meh, and I'm going to go C tier.
I think the materials are comfortable, the foam, the fabric, the headrest. The recline is decent. Even the arm pads are pretty good, but I wish the armrest had more adjustability, and I cannot stand the headrest when you recline. It just cricks my neck forward, so I'd be at a C tier for this chair.
So I actually find the recline to be very comfortable on the Freedom. I think this is one of the most comfortable chairs to work in well reclined. The truth is you don't want to recline all the time. So sitting upright, this is only a good chair, not great. I'm going to give it a B, but with 2 C's in the B, this is a C tier chair. The OM Seating Yes chair is a bit of a sleeper. I think it has a nice contoured seat, very comfortable even for a long period of time. And I like that the mesh backrest has a real wide frame, so you don't ever feel yourself hitting it. This is a B tier.
Like Robert, I think the OM Seating Yes chair is a nice option. I do like the seat pad on it. I think the armrest option we selected are super cush, and the headrest is one of the highest rated that I've tested. Unfortunately, it lacks a bit of lumbar support, and it's sort of clanky. I'm going to go B tier.
I think the Yes is a good overall chair for comfort. Solid seat, comfortable arms. Like Greg said, it's missing that lumbar factor, but I don't think it's a huge deal. The headrest is great, but because it's missing that lumbar and because it doesn't have the smoothest recline, I'd be at a B tier as well. B overall from the 3 of us. The Haworth Fern is the first chair that I ever considered S tier for comfort until getting into the gaming Embody. I love the seat, love the arms, the backrest is amazing, and it has a really nice recline. S tier for the Fern.
I really like the flex in both the back and the seat on the Fern. This is a chair I could easily see myself sitting in for 8 to 10 hours. The arms are a little step down for me, which is why I don't have this at a S, but it's a high A.
I really like the Fern as well. My configuration's a little bit different than Ryan's to get to my ultimate S tier, and that includes a lumbar support, but I do like the digital knit backrest. Honestly, this chair is amazing, and it's hard to go wrong with it. It's going to be S tier overall. After further consideration, I will never recommend the Markus chair from IKEA or any IKEA office chairs to anyone in the USA. If you're outside the States and you have limited options, I still won't recommend it, but at your own risk, you could maybe go with that. F tier.
I have a tough time disagreeing with Greg's take. I'm not going to be quite as aggressive. I think the seat is okay. It does go flat after like an hour or two though. And the lumbar and the backrest is absolutely atrocious. If you can find a way to take that out, it'd probably be a lot better. And I don't love the fixed arms. So I'd be at a D tier here for the Markus.
The arms on the Markus are probably the worst on this entire list of chairs. I also agree with Ryan. The seat is too firm and you just bottom out really quick on it. So it is a D, but with 2 Ds and an F, it's a low D. A unique addition to the list is the Thatsit Balans. This is a kneeling chair, not meant to be used for all-day sitting, so that's how I'm ranking it. I really tried to love this chair a couple years ago. I sat in it a good amount, but I couldn't stay in it for more than maybe 30 minutes, so it's just a C.
This thing is so overpriced and weird, I legit can't use it. F tier.
If you're looking for a kneeling chair, this is going to be the best kneeling chair out there in my opinion, just because of the backrest and the extra adjustability. But this is a chair that I can only use for an hour, maybe 2 hours at a time before I need to get rid of it. And that's kind of the way that you're supposed to use it. So in terms of overall comfort, I'd have to be at a D tier, and we'd be D overall for an average. The Herman Miller Vantum had so much potential to be comfortable. I like the backrest, the lumbar support, and I think the headrest is decently comfortable, but the seat just doesn't do it for me, and I'm not a huge fan of the arms or the recline, so I would be at a C tier for the Vantum.
The Vantum is another chair that is just too small for me to fit in, especially the seat depth is just way too shallow, so I can't get comfortable in that seat. The headrest does help keep it in a D for me, so this is a D tier chair.
Yeah, I really like the headrest on the Vantum. I know it's a bit clunky. I think that the backrest is comfortable for me as well, but like Robert said, the seat depth on it is made for a child, so that really doesn't fit. It's going to be C for me and C overall. The Sihoo chair is just awful. I mean, I think that the seat pad is hard as a rock, which makes it almost impossible for me to use. The backrest is just okay. The armrest, same thing. I know it's a cheap chair, but I cannot use this one. I'm going F tier.
Yeah, I have a hard time putting this thing any higher than a D tier simply because of the seat alone. It is one of the hardest seats we've ever used, but the backrest is okay. The arms have some softness to them, so I'm going to stick with the D tier on this.
Yeah, the Sihoo is just kind of hard all over, I find, especially the seat, and the arms have this contour that kind of force you in a certain position, so it's just hard to stay comfortable in the spot you want to be. So this 2 Ds and an F, this is going to be D tier. The Steelcase Amia is the $1,000 gem of the Steelcase lineup. I love the seat on the Amia. It's my favorite of all the Steelcase chairs. It has a high back that's flexible. This is an A tier chair.
Honestly, I like pretty much everything about it, except for maybe the lumbar support could be just a little bit more pronounced. But for me, I can use this thing all day long. I have no issues for months at a time. I'm going S tier.
I'm right there with Robert. I think the Amia has the best comfort to price ratio out of any chair that I've reviewed. The seat is amazing, back is awesome, great armrest package, but it's a lot like the Leap in that I wish it had a little bit more of a rocking recline, so I'd be at an A tier for this one. A tier overall. The Diffrient Smart is my favorite chair from the Humanscale lineup. I think it's got a really comfortable seat. I like the arm pads, and I'm a huge fan of the backrest with that nice perfect curve. If it didn't have the issue where I had to bump my elbows against the armrest holders and it had a better recline, I'd have this higher, but I still have it at a B+.
I really love the pivoting design of the backrest in the Smart, and the seat is really nice, probably the best from the Humanscale lineup. The armrest issue where you hit your funny bone makes me actually want to get the Liberty chair instead of the Smart, but this is a B tier chair.
I think that the back and seat combination is great. I just wish the arms fit me a little bit better. I'm going to go A tier, but it's going to be B overall. I think that the Herman Miller Mirra 2 is not quite as comfortable as the Cosm, but I do believe it's better than the Aeron for me personally. I really like that backrest and the thick padded arms. I'm going to go B tier.
This is a high-end Herman Miller chair, so you're going to get those things like that nice, super deep, smooth recline and soft, comfortable arm pads, but the arms don't fit me properly because they're a little bit too wide. I don't like the mesh seat, and the backrest is a bit too firm for me. I'd probably get the fabric edition if I had the choice. It's going to be a C-tier chair.
I like the nice wide backrest on the Mirra 2, and the seat gives you a little bit more movement than the Aeron does because the pronounced frame is not quite as high, and I actually really like the armrests, even though they're a little bit odd looking. This is going to be a B for me. 2 Bs in a seat, this ends at B. The Razer Isker will give you all the lumbar support you need, but I just don't need that much. And the headrest pillow, it pushes my head too far forward. But if I take it off, then it's like my head is up against a brick wall. So this is a F.
Yeah, Razer definitely tried to think outside the box with this crazy lumbar support, but it's honestly awful. And I think this chair just overall is too narrow, too rigid, and it's just uncomfortable, especially in the seat. I'm going to go F tier.
For me, this is just a less comfortable version of the Secret Lab Titan Evo. I'm not just going to say everything the guys have said here again. F tier for me as well. F overall. The Steelcase Series 1, unfortunately for me, is a chair that doesn't really feel like it belongs in the Steelcase lineup. You get really hard plastic arms, a lack of adjustability. I don't love the backrest. So unfortunately for me, this is going to be a D tier chair from Steelcase.
This is another chair that at 6'2", I just don't come close to fitting in, so I'm always feeling that hard backrest. This is a D.
Even at 6 foot, I think this chair is too small. And like Ryan said, the armrests are awful, which is super weird because Steelcase has awesome armrests. I'm going to go D tier. D tier overall. I think that the Staples Hyken is the definition of a bad mesh seat with saggy mesh and a hard plastic frame. This is the second chair in the list that I think is actually worse than Robert's kitchen chair. I'm going F tier.
Greg probably stole Robert's thunder with the kitchen chair comment there, but it's true. This chair is just absolutely terrible, super uncomfortable all around. The only saving grace would maybe be the headrest is decent, but still F tier for me.
I really think it's the bad quality materials that makes this an uncomfortable chair. You sink right through the mesh and you're hitting the frame. This is an F all across. The Mavics gaming chair has a very comfortable back. I like the flexibility in the lumbar support. I just feel the seat is a little too thin, like I'm sinking through it. So this is going to be a high C for me.
Yeah, I think the Mavics really reminds me a lot of the Ergohuman series, which I have a ton of experience in and I've always truly enjoyed. I think the upgrade, though, is that it has a nice deep recline and a comfortable headrest. I wish the armrest set wasn't so terrible. I'm going to go B here.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised with the comfort on the Mavics just because the X chair is not comfortable. But I do like the seat on the Mavics chair. I like the backrest, the lumbar support. And I think the headrest is really good too. The one miss, like Greg said, is the armrests aren't the best. So I'd be at a B tier for this and B tier overall for the Mavics. I think the Haworth Zodi is a very comfortable chair, currently sitting in my top 5 most comfortable chairs overall. Good seat, great backrest, you get some flexibility there, and a nice armrest package. The recline is a little bit funky with the forward dual pivot mode, and that's the only reason that I would hold it back down to an A.
The Zodi is a chair we probably don't talk about enough. It has a very supportive, firm, but comfortable seat, and I like the ability to have that perch functionality. It just makes you find a way to be comfortable for even longer in this chair. So this is an A.
Just to be clear, this is the Zodi 2, not the original Zodi, and I think it's a pretty significant upgrade over the original because I could not sit in that chair, and that's because they got into a much more neutral, upright position. I like the seat pad on this one. I really like the backrest. I'm going to go A. It's going to be A overall. The Aeron Remastered is the chair that I just want to love so much, but unfortunately, I cannot sit in this thing for an extended period of time. The mesh is something that just does not agree with me, and I don't love the frame on it. The chair overall is just too rigid, but that recline is insane. Every time I sit in it, I'm like, I need to sit in this chair, which I ultimately fail with, and I'm just going to have to go with a C tier on this one.
I love the recline. It's my favorite recline on any chair. And I love the armrest pads. Again, my favorite on any chair. I think the posture fit is great, but I cannot stand the hard frame on the backrest or the seat as a whole. And so it's really tough for me, but unfortunately I have to go C tier on this just because I cannot use it for longer than a couple hours at a time.
So considering all aspects of the chair, I would give the Aeron in S tier, but this is just comfort, and I don't give the seat comfort of the Aeron an S. It's probably more of a B for me. So while I love the suspended feeling in the Aeron, I'll give this an A. So an A and 2 C's, we'll put this in B. The Amia is a chair that Greg created in our last comfort list. Now we're taking the Leap frame, so you get the back of a Leap and the seat of an Amia. Now to me, you're taking an S tier backrest from the Leap, an S tier seat from the Amia, and the arms are excellent. So this is an S tier chair.
The Amia is a cool concoction for those of you that don't like the seat pad on the Leap, but for me, that's not a problem. I think the seat pad on the Leap is one of the most comfortable seats I've ever used, so this doesn't necessarily upgrade the chair for me. It would just be the same score as the Leap, so it does everything well except for that recline, so I'd have it at A tier.
I think that the Amia is the end game of chairs for me personally, but like Ryan said, you might not necessarily need this hybrid of a chair, but I will say for you, those of you who have been mad at me, we are finally going to offer this at a limited capacity so that you can get your hands on a chair that's not a chair. I'm going to go S tier only because that's where the tier list ends. It's definitely higher than that in my opinion, and S tier overall. Thanks for watching.